Well, he's Zambia's most phenomenal artist. He combines rhythm, soul, gospel. He appeals to the young, the old, those to come, and he has become Zambia's most sensational artist, musical artist. Today, I'm speaking with the one and only, as they say, Pompy.
Hello. It's an honor to be.
Yeah, how are you?
Amazing. Beautiful setup you have.
Yeah, no, it's really great. Thank you for coming and making it across town.
No, anytime.
Busy schedules.
No, it's worthwhile to come
No,
here.
and thank you for making time for us.
Not a problem.
So you've done this so many times.
Yeah.
You need to you need to relax, feel at home.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping we can maybe press some buttons that haven't been pressed before. And you know what?
Yeah.
If there's a question that I haven't, or a conversation that you are dying to have with me, please have it and bring it out.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's not about me asking questions. It's really just about a conversation.
A conversation, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thank
but
you so much.
you thank you. You look well.
I'm well.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask you a little bit, quite a bit about your tour, and what's happening with your life now and where we're going in the future. However, obviously, if I've got Pompy in front of me, I can't resist, and I have to start from the beginning. Yeah. Everybody does that, I know. I'm not going to ask about where you grew up, because I feel that people kind of know that.
Yeah.
But I want to know, did you plan to be an artist?
Right. No, I didn't. Music was a hobby. I thought I wanted to be. My dream was to be in the corporate space. Through university, I got an honors degree in business systems.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my dream. Music was something it made me part of the cool clique in school. So I guess I held on to it.
Well, now who's cool now?
So that's why I held on to it. It was like more something. I didn't know I could make a living off music. Of course. And obviously, at the time, being a musician wasn't, it almost wasn't looked at with a lot of credibility.
Of course not.
I mean, in a room, with lawyers, doctors, music, you'd feel that shame of being almost like, everything failed and you decided to choose music.
No, I see that. Yeah. Who were you listening to at the time when you said, can you remember, smells and music are something that go back for years.
Yes.
There's something that I still smell now, and I go back 20 years, and it's that smell of, I don't know if you remember lanolin or Nivea. There's something they put in those things like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's the same with music. Like there's that song that you must have been listening to at the time or that era, and it was then that I said, right. It's just in terms of time.
Yes.
What were you listening to at the time when you said, this is what I'm going to do?
At the time, I was listening to a lot of Oliver Mutukudzi. I loved him because obviously he was the element of telling stories through music.
Yeah.
I think he was a huge inspiration for me. My parents loved him, played his music all the time, so I grew up listening to a lot of him. I loved obviously Nas. I've always loved musicians who use music to enlighten people.
Yeah.
To the music that empowers them, enlightens them to think maybe something they don't know, or even just a simple story to make them laugh, to think about something they've never thought about. I think music is powerful because it goes straight into the spirit, unfiltered. Yeah,
and of course, what you've done is you've intentionally or unintentionally, you've used music to advocate, to send strong messages. Even just starting with gospel.
Yes.
Was that intentional, or was it just because you had to? It was a way of relaying what you felt, your belief, or you didn't start off with gospel?
Yes, no, I didn't.
No.
I didn't. So obviously, I was an atheist, a very proud atheist at the time. But
you didn't grow up in a atheist home.
I would say my mom was very much a Christian. My dad was with me. We were atheists together. In fact,
so you'd sit and have conversations about half of the family being absolutely non-believers, and the other side
We wouldn't. I mean, it was. What's interesting about my family is religious inclinations or choice has always been free. Like we've been free. Our parents gave us the freedom to. So actually, what's interesting is that my sister is Baha'i.
Right.
Yeah, my sister. Okay. One of my sisters is Baha'i. Obviously, I'm Christian. At the time I was obviously born again, I became Christian. My dad still was an atheist. So but we lived obviously in harmony, respecting each other.
I need to sit at the dinner table and see what that looks like.
What that looks like.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting. I think it has enriched all of us because we sort of have learned to respect. Obviously, religion is one of those things that can divide a people.
Absolutely, of course.
But when it's within your family, you sort of have to figure out and manage. And sort of, I think for me, it has taught me how to exist in spaces where people don't believe what you believe. And you can still create some harmony or understand.
But the world should be like that, right?
Yeah,
where we all have different beliefs and thoughts and live in harmony.
Exactly.
No, that's great.
Exactly.
So what I want to know is, how did you embark on taking your music into on the gospel route? So
I had an interesting encounter. Obviously, I was an atheist, and I'll make it short by saying I had an encounter with God, or what you would. I didn't believe in the supernatural. Yeah. I didn't believe in anything of that sort. So when I came to the realization that exists, I went into a study of religion. I mean, I sort of looked at different religions. I would say I settled on Christianity because of an encounter I had in a church called My People's Church in South Africa, which obviously science couldn't explain. Obviously, I as an atheist, you're very logical. I would say scientific, and I just came to the realization that science doesn't answer all questions.
So was your research very methodical? How did you go about that? Did you visit different churches, institutions, or did you just read about them?
I read about them.
Or did you use AI?
Yeah. I wish it was there at the time. maybe it would have fast tracked the process.
Yeah.
But I just befriended people. I just befriended people who were of certain. So I had a friend who was Muslim. So I'm naturally curious. So I just asked them questions like about the religion. So I looked into Baha'i, looked into Scientology. Funny enough, Egyptology. I studied a lot of that stuff. Yeah, Christianity, funny enough, wasn't on the list. I didn't. It wasn't on the list because at the time I had an understanding of church history according to how I was taught, and some of the terrible things that had happened. And I remember having the conviction when I was young. Like obviously, I'll give an example of the point of no return in Ghana, where there was the slaves kept in this holding room before they get shipped off. At the top of that storage, if you can say, for the slaves, there was a church. So I remember being young and watching that and seeing, and there was a priest that would intercede for the shipment. I remember being young and seeing that and said, I can't pray to that God. So, of course, it was a misrepresentation. It was a misrepresentation and manipulation of what I believe is the true faith of Christianity. But it obviously affected my perspective of Christianity in the beginning. So Christianity wasn't on the table at the time. But I just wondered, I guess the curiosity began that I was curious that why is every civilization, even as remote as a tribe that has never encountered civilization, why did they always feel that they have to worship some type of deity or, some supernatural? So I was thinking, is it them who are foolish or is it me who's foolish? Obviously, as an atheist at the time, like why does everyone have to believe in something like a higher power? I just to prove whether I was the foolish one or that, I guess I went into a study of an understanding of Christianity, and when I studied for myself, so my salvation didn't come in an institutionalized way. Like obviously, most of the time it happens in church. You are called.
Sure.
There's an altar call.
Yeah.
It was really alone in my room. I was reading the Bible, and then when the light went on about what the revelation of Jesus Christ and grace is, when I.
So that says so much now about why it's so much part of your life,
Yeah,
part of your career now.
Yeah,
and through that you're speaking to people, enlightening, inspiring, actually. So what is probably your most memorable song? I mean, there's so many examples of like your amazing songs.
Thank you so much.
But which is the one that really translates into a heartfelt song that speaks to your belief, and it's still got rhythm, and it's still got the beat, and it just encompasses Pompy? I mean, of course, we're going to be part of the Pole Pole album.
Yes, thanks.
But looking back now, what is the one that really speaks to you and says all those things about?
I would say
your music and you.
I think I'll approach it slightly different, because obviously every song is really, it's a personal expression. Some of the songs are almost like diary sessions. Like I'm literally expressing my mind, and so I have moments that are attached to every song, if you can say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to pick a favorite one, but the most impactful one. That I believe so far is definitely a song called Mulungu Samagona, which means God doesn't sleep. Definitely that song. I've heard remarkable testimonies of, like I'll give you an example. There was a 65-year-old lady who came from the UK, flew into Zambia, found her way to our office, and said you really wanted to meet me. And obviously, I was a bit scared about what was going on. Like, have I done anything wrong? Because I was wondering why an elderly lady, she was really eager to meet me. So when I met her, she said, "Look, I wanted to commit suicide. I had mental health issues. She went through a very tough time, and she was saying that song carried me through that. I contemplated committing suicide. Yeah. So for that, considering that my song could have changed at that crossroads.
Yeah.
My song could have impacted that crossroads to for someone to choose life. I thought at that moment, you know what, I can retire now.
And then do you get that? Maybe not, such deep experiences, but do you get that feeling and that response from your fan base, who, by the way, are a huge range?
Thank you.
From really
grandparents to children.
Absolutely. And so, as a family, probably a bit like you were, a family would be listening to Pompy as you were listening to Oliver, in the home, because everybody can relate to it.
Yes.
But do you find that response generally is just like so positive and like inspiring?
Yeah, no, it's the feedback is what I guess has kept me going. Yeah. I did have all the time. I took this career reluctantly. Like I was like, okay, let me just do one song and let me see what happens. Or then, okay, let me do an album. And then obviously the response was so strong and the impact was felt. So I would say it's the people who have been driving me to stay.
Yeah.
On this path.
And look where we are now.
Yeah.
You're touring with Kirk Franklin. This is stunning.
Thank you.
And obviously you've collaborated with so many other people. You've sung with so many other people. The stage just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And warmer and warmer, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
How have your collaborations, what have they looked like? And tell me more about how you decide two things I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
I want to know about rather. How you decide to collaborate with somebody and or work with somebody, or say, I will join this tour, or I will sing this song with somebody. Is it a call, or it can be either way, or is it, I feel their music can work for me, or how does it work?
I would say the motive behind the music.
Right.
Obviously, as gospel, there's an agenda behind the gospel. It's very clear that there's an agenda. So I would say the motive behind the music, sometimes, obviously, there can be collaboration, even if it's not necessarily gospel music or a gospel artist. but if the motive is not against what I would say against the cross,
Right.
or against the values that I hold as a Christian, then I'm definitely fine to collaborate. So I mean, I've done a couple of collaborations.
Yeah, of course.
Not just in music, but even obviously in other projects.
In other projects, your advocacy in
Yes.
gambling,
Yes.
and just motivating not just young people, anybody in gambling. And because obviously that speaks against your beliefs.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
you speak a
So
lot about
if
that.
anyone jumps on the bandwagon, whether they're Muslim, whether they are, and they want to fight the same enemy,
Yeah.
I mean, I would gladly collaborate with them. Yeah.
And tell me, because that's an interesting one, because you could have chosen anything.
Yeah.
Was there a particular incident or particular experience that made you say, no, this is either it's really becoming a big problem, or an issue? What made you approach that and say, I need to partner with this cause?
It was a conviction. Anyway, let me say there's an unofficial version. There's the official version. The unofficial version is that I got a conviction, and I responded to that conviction. The official version is that I got an instruction to say it, to speak on gambling. Even as I've even understood the gravity of what it is more and more, and my conviction is even becoming very much stronger to fight it even more. And what the fight is that not to ban gambling, because gambling has been there. It's an ancient practice.
Of course, in different forms, of course.
But the issue that I had was that I felt it needs to be regulated. The advertisement needs to be regulated. Because obviously, according to the WHO, gambling is considered a disease. There is data that is very, very concerning about gambling, which is, it's available everywhere, which is why a lot of places have that regulation. But here, because a lot of people are not aware, we're almost becoming a gambling haven, to be honest with you. So it's just the regulation. Just like in states like Illinois, like Las Vegas was set up that let this be a place where gambling, reigns free. But everywhere else there is regulation because they knew the dangers of gambling.
Of course.
So basically, my fight is to try and prevent Zambia being another Sin City. And what my issue with the advertisement is that, just like any other vice, I feel gambling is being given like preferential treatment, if you can say. All the other vices
are regulated. You feel they're regulated.
Yeah. Like you can't advertise cigarettes on TV or But this one, which is actually, according to the data, is more dangerous it's terribly dangerous. Of the 5 addictions, the top addictions, which is opioids, like opium and all sort of stuff. The number one that causes suicide is gambling.
Yeah, death.
Yeah. So it deals a lot with mental health, which is why even the regulation in these countries again makes it that the gambling companies have to partition some money from their profits to help problem gamblers. But right now in this country, yes, gambling is just given free rein, but there is no single place where a problem gambler can go and can be helped. Now, I was just speaking from a place that I feel that's a bit irresponsible from the policymakers. And obviously, they reduced the tax from, I think it was 25% to 15%. So all these things, I just felt the values of I feel it is sort of chipping at our values as a country. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure your voice is being heard.
I hope so.
And tell me what happens when you go to other countries, because you travel so much. You're advocating, not so much on the advocating, but I'm sure whilst you're there and performing, or if you get the opportunity, you also advocate there. But I want to hear more about your travels on the continent, Kenya, Uganda.
Yes, Uganda. Yes.
I need to hear more about that and see how you are illuminating your voice on the African platform?
Oh yeah. So I mean, shockingly, it's one of the things. I'm surprised even till today. Obviously, knowing that. I would say I reluctantly took this step to do music. It still shocks me how far-reaching music can be. So a couple of years ago, I don't know how in East Africa my music reached that market, and yeah, I say it reluctantly, but it's almost the mark the reach there is almost I can even say almost bigger than here. Why I would say that not I don't want to offend like my people of Zambia. I know they give me support, but I guess maybe there's a bigger markets there. They're much bigger markets.
Is it on the messaging, or is it on the music? Is it on the beat, or is it on the messaging?
It's on the messaging. So what I've been trying to understand how or why they, I would say, resonate with my music. DJ, a friend of mine, said that obviously they have reggae. They love reggae.
You're right.
They've loved reggae. It's part of it's the genre they love the most. And reggae obviously is heavy on lyrics. And my music is very lyric heavy. So they resonated with it because of they appreciate lyrics and
right.
That's for me with obviously even for me music for me I love lyrics.
Yeah.
That's almost the priority, almost above the melody or the music. The lyrics are what I feel is
well, that's really encouraging, because I have a 15-year-old son.
Yeah.
So, we don't know what anyone's saying when they're listening to music and his friends are listening, and I'm like, what was that word? Stop, rewind. Stop, or not even rewind, take it back.
Yes.
And so they're listening more to the beat.
Yes.
Than the lyrics.
Exactly. There is that. So I would say Zambia falls within that category. We love the beats, and they are different. I think there are different demographics, like people. So yeah, I think we love the beat, and I love the beat as well. I mean, but if I noticed I can't listen to a song with a nice beat with no lyrics.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah. But obviously there are places, there are people who can listen to a beat, not know anything that's being said, and still appreciate the song.
No, absolutely.
So I guess, I just express my truth and what I...
How are you going to take the young ones with you? I mean, they're young now.
Yeah.
How are you going to take them with you? Obviously, you've taken people along with you the last, what is it, 15 years?
Yeah.
How are you going to... Well, I guess it's just about being truth to yourself, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's really what...
Yeah. I think...
What it sounds like.
Yeah. That I would say sums it up.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, because I'm not going to say here, but I'm a fan, because it will tell my age. So I'm a fan of someone out there. I mean, die-hard fan.
Yes.
I would do anything for this star.
Yes.
And I've followed her for the last X number of years.
Yeah.
And recently, she started changing her face. And I just said, well, I can't change mine.
Yeah.
So I'm moving away from that. And I'm like, this is about a fan who's now dropping off.
Yeah.
Because things have started changing.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting. Obviously, your values, your lyrics, your meaningfulness remains.
Yes.
It just goes to show that probably the journey with this particular artist has gone, because it was obviously quite shallow.
I hear you.
So I'm not going to change my face anytime
we hope
soon.
so. We love it as it is.
Yeah, thanks. So now we can't do this without talking about Esther.
Yeah.
Esther Chungo, amazing woman.
Yeah.
Your collaborations, your partnership is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
If this was anywhere else in the world, people struggle to combine profession and family, especially when you're both in the same profession. I don't know if it's easier or harder. Maybe one understands the other one better when they're not. I don't know.
Yes.
There might be a level of competitiveness there.
Yeah.
How does that work? How do you guys, what's the ingredient there?
I would say at Pompy at home, there's no Pompy at home. There's no the titles are left at the door. At home, I'm a husband. She's a wife. She's a mother. I'm a father. And we put that's P1 for us. That's priority number one. The home is the first priority. Everything else, if I was to choose between being a celebrity and my family, I would drop the celebrity instantly. That's my number one ministry. That's my number one priority. It's the same for both of us. So it's easy to navigate when that's the priority and everything else is sort of secondary.
Sure.
Yeah, it's easier to navigate. So fortunately, we both look at things that way. So it's almost been effortless. We haven't had to have interventions or meetings where like, okay, no, we need to.
No, that's great.
There's been a natural balance because of how we prioritize.
So again, that comes back to the values and the Christianity, and this is what is important in our life. It's more important than, like you say, like the being a celebrity out there and believing in the same things.
Exactly. And so I would say that just like myself, I think she's very strong on what she believes in.
Yeah. So what would the dinner table look like then, if I had to invite myself?
Invite
myself.
The dinner table.
Invite myself.
You are invited. I caught the. You're invited. The dinner table is not our usual chill spot while eating. It's in front of the TV watching Netflix.
Which is what was the last one? The last one you both watched, a series that you just said, "Oh my goodness, shut the doors, turn off the phones, and don't tell anyone we're here."
What's crazy is that we watch a lot of documentaries.
Okay.
Anyway, the last one we really enjoyed together was Social Dilemma.
Okay.
On Netflix, the Social Dilemma. Because obviously it sort of speaks. It's about social media and how it can be toxic, and we both could relate with it because obviously as public figures, social media is a massive part of our lives. We learned a lot from the documentary. So we really watch a lot of documentaries. She loves a lot of. She dabbles around even some Nigerian movies. I don't watch too many of them, but she's more diverse with her selection of stuff she watches. I'm a bit more rigid. Documentaries, news.
Okay.
Maybe a bit too much news.
The great thing is that you can be in any part of the world, and if you're both, or if just share with friends, family, if you're watching the same series, you can like let's start it here and let's all watch it together wherever you are, and come back together and still continue.
Exactly,
so it's actually a really beautiful way of keeping together and keeping each other in check. Whereabouts have you reached on that one? No.
Exactly.
Go back. Not before that. No, check again.
Yeah. Actually, we obviously, like, you're not allowed to watch the next episode before your friend.
Or don't tell. Even if you have a sneak don't tell. No, I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't.
No, but she usually is a spoil. She spoils it for me because she always spoils. I now tell it on camera that you need to stop that. You need to stop that, Esther. Yeah, because she's always saying, "Do you know what happened?" No,
you can't do that.
Like, come on, like, you're destroying the movie for
me.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to now enjoy life, actually. And again, it's just becomes smaller. You can be anywhere in the world, like everything else.
Yeah.
But it's all just here. That's really great.
Yeah.
What about your son?
Oh, Malachi. He's a bundle of joy. I think having a child has changed both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm picking fights like these gambling fights with betting companies because I think I was thinking, like, where has this kind of conviction come from? But I think it's sort of now you're wondering, like, oh, what kind of a world have I brought my child into? And how can I make it better? How can I, become an example? So I think that for both of us has been, but I think it's given us such a sense of purpose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I think one of the things, how old is he?
He was 1 year last week, Monday.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that people are beginning to think a lot about is,
Yeah.
and luckily you grew up in a home where obviously it wasn't, your career wasn't dictated, it sounds like, and it was freedom of try, but there's still guidelines.
Yep. Yeah.
And what we're noticing today is we're preparing our children for careers that that don't exist today.
Oh, talk about that.
Don't exist today.
Yep.
So right now you just have to nurture them with the values.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit there and think, oh, he's going to become a pilot and let's go in that direction. There'll be things that we won't be able to pronounce.
Yeah.
I won't be able to pronounce them in like 15 years' time for the things that are coming.
I hear you. Yeah.
So no, that's great. And I think it really is just about.
Actually, that's one of the worries. So it's interesting you actually said that. The world has changed so much.
It's changing.
That some of the traditional approaches even to education, you wonder whether, we should subject our children to the same format or they make some adjustments, because like for example with the coming in of AI, AI is replacing right as we speak. Like companies like Amazon laid away 350,000 members of staff or stuff like that, So yeah, there's going to be jobs that that are going to, unfortunately there are people graduating today whose jobs unfortunately have already been taken by AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so how to navigate now this new era and this new world, and how to make sure we educate our children to actually have to be able to solve problems in the real world. Yeah,
and be able to live in the real world.
And be able to live in the real world. Yeah.
And I think, the one thing that won't go away is that having great values and hopefully being on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Should at least keep you halfway there. Halfway there.
Yeah.
I need to ask more about your globalness, talking about the world and your travels and when you go on tours.
Yeah.
So when do you decide to go on a tour? How does it work?
If I'm being honest, I did my first tour last year. That was my first tour. And I have a massive respect for touring artists after touring wise, because it is a lot of work. That was learning experience for me. Fortunately, me and Esther have sort of a policy that it's fortunately she's in the same industry, so she comes along. Yeah. If she can. The second leg of the tour, actually, she joined us to everywhere we're going. So obviously the life and work balance was good, because what was family then, which was just Esther, was with me everywhere. Now the dynamic is a little different. So it's a little bit different now.
So can you believe that life on the road it really is life on the road?
It is. It's very, even the little short tour I did with Maverick City and Kirk Franklin, I got to see, I personally, I don't know if I would subscribe to it for a long period of time. Just to give you an idea, I think we had the show here. The show ended, I think it was around 10 p.m. or so. Immediately we're off to the airport, got on a flight at 1, reached Malawi. We actually got to our hotel at 4 a.m. Sound check was at 8 in the morning. So that's basically 4 hours of sleep. 8 in the morning, in the afternoon was the show. Immediately after that show, we had to go to the airport again to go to Zimbabwe. And for me, that was just a very short, I just joined them for a little short and I was absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, of course.
But for them, they did Joburg before that. They did, they've been touring. They're still touring now. Yeah. And it's a lot of work.
It's grueling.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
What did you pack in your bag? What's the one thing that was in your bag?
I packed light. I didn't pack towels because I knew where the places were.
No Nshima?
No Nshima, no.
Like just in case.
No shima, just deodorant, toothbrush, and some clothes.
And
Obviously, clothes which will be good for stage.
Yeah.
And those which you can wear,
Move
obviously,
around
move
in.
around in. Yeah.
I want to ask a little bit more about the taking you back. I want to ask a little bit more detail about the songwriting when you start to write a song.
Yeah.
If I haven't gotten this out properly, is it inspired by something, or just depends, or you have to, or somebody says, "Pompy, we need a single," or they say we need an album.
Yeah.
Generally, how is it inspired?
I would say it's always inspired by experiences or things that or ideas that I get, and it from the idea it goes into poetry, then from poetry to music. So actually, before I did music, I was a poet.
Yes.
Yes. So that's, I guess, the creative process of poetry.
Yes.
Then sort of marrying the poetry and the music. But yeah, like I was saying, that it's like a diary session for me. So I write a moment, an experience, something I've observed, but I'll write in poetry, and then that will translate into a song. Not all of them do, because I just note them down or just note it down. Some just remain purely just.
So who's
a
there
note.
to say, dude, forget about this one, aside, or no, this one we can try, or this one's a good one? Who does that?
To be honest, I wouldn't say there's anybody who does that, because I don't know if I would allow them to.
You're like, I'm taking a chance on all of them.
Yeah, but I do have critics.
Right.
My trusted critics who, like my dad being one of them. My dad is one of those, like, no, that's not music.
My friend, no.
That's not music. No.
Tell me now about Pole Pole. Tell me how it was born. Tell me what we're feeling about it.
Oh yeah, actually, it's a good example of the process, I guess. Pole Pole, actually. So I was in Livingston. I was by the falls. I love the falls. So every time I go there, I don't go there like for like 30 minutes and like go walk past. And I literally go and sit down.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went there and I sat down. I've got like my little special place where I sit down. So I sat down and I was just watching the falls.
So how does one know that this is Pompy's spot? How will we know when we go?
No, I'll keep it a secret. I'll keep it a secret. But I have that spot. So I went there the one time, and so I was just admiring the majesty of the falls, and then I thought about it, that obviously the gorge, that the falls wasn't at the place where it is now, that it's been moving, and it's there right now. The falls is the gorge is what has been created from the falls sort of moving backwards to where it is now, and got a feel of the rock that's there. I mean, that rock where the falls is really, really hard, really hard rock. So let me say, I'm trying to not make it churchy, but unfortunately, to explain it properly, I'll have to make it a little churchy. But I have my devotionals as well there. Sort of like I take the time to meditate and just thank God for the milestones that I may have reached and whatever. Yeah, and the thought came that obviously the rock, the water, something as innocent as water, was eating through this hard rock. And I got stuck on that thought, like how can water, something like so soft, be so soft, be eating through this hard rock? And that led me to think that that's consistency over time. The consistency over time of the water going over the rock is enough to create something as epic as the Victoria Falls now, which has reached like a critical mass now that it can't be ignored. But it's that consistency over time, slowly. So
isn't that like prayer?
It is. So at that moment, it became like a philosophy, life like philosophy for me that I don't look to make grand. Just like I just want to be consistent. I do the same things every day. Small steps, but consistent. I get anxious when my days are not consistent now, because I feel these little bits of work that I do in different spaces and different areas. So I have my daily habits that are related to family, my daily habits that are related to work or my creative process. So I basically go through the day checklisting these little consistencies that I stand by. And I've actually seen them transform. Yeah, so like it was a turning point for me. So much so that I had to dedicate the album to that. So pole pole means slow, like take it easy. Don't try and look for instant gratification. Be consistent, and consistency is more important than trying to make big moves within like a short space of time. Yeah.
So what I'm also curious about is how the Afro beats
Yeah.
are, how they're growing, how it's growing. Afro beats are growing.
Yeah.
Do you think the Zambian music is the Zambian platform or culture is gonna pick up on that, or are we already doing it? How are young people seeing it? Is it penetrating into our music?
I think we are. I believe our music industry is very, very young, extremely young. So I think we are getting to a place where we are forming an identity. I think we did have an identity. Look with Kalindula, and you know. And I would say there was Kalindula, there was there was the group The Witch. I'm trying to Zamrock, yeah, with Zamrock as well. So there's Kalindula and Zamrock. I would say those were authentically, original sounds from Zambia. But I would say we are still trying to find our feet in regards to creating a sound that identifies our music with, because I'm a piano. It's very obvious when you hear the lock drum, it's South Africa. I would say I'm a piano and house and is a bit more unique to Africa than Afro, because Afro picks up from a little bit of reggae and to make an influence. But the lock drum is an invention, that really just you will not
So
find
unique.
it anywhere else. So I think the more Zambian artists are free to express. I actually posted something on my social media a few weeks ago, and I was asking people to help me determine what my genre is, because even I have no idea. Obviously, if we take gospel, if you take the title of gospel, right, out what just the structure of the music. Even I don't know what I would call the genre of music that I do.
I think it's going to be really difficult to say this is Zambian. It will take a while, and I hear you.
Yeah.
Because there's so much influence now.
Yeah.
It's like even, you can go from like fashion, clothes, we've moved away from that because we've got so much influence that some people are trying to like reinvent it, but because the world has become so small, it's now more difficult to keep your own identity, go back, remember it, because you've got influences from everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I think we'll get there. Copperbelt has obviously, Copperbelt with I don't know what if you can call it a genre. I don't know. The music is definitely unique, and there's the dance, because music is also coupled with dance. So I think to credit Zambian music right now, the Copperbelt is creating a sound that I don't think is I've heard before.
But also
and
again,
dance moves that are are very unique to.
But I would
Zambia.
probably agree with that because, the Copper Belt has always been really unique.
Yeah.
They have their own tongue, their own way of doing everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can believe, because I'm not saying they've been isolated, but they have a very strong identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give me one thing that is part of your habit that isn't prayer, but it's just with one thing that has been consistent that you do every day?
There's definitely there's I'll give you a few.
It can be weird, it's
Yeah,
fine.
I'll
It's just
give you-
us.
So for my creative process, I watch a production every day, and I critique a production every day. So I watch it and I critique it. I write my notes on it and what I've learned from it and blah blah blah. So that's on one side, and then I read every day, but I read more less books. I read news, and and then I basically follow through on stories. So there are issues that I follow, subjects that I follow over a long space of time. So much so that I sometimes I actually feel like I'm an expert in that subjects. But
Like you're stalking the subject.
I'm stalking the subject literally. I chose news because obviously I think news it's a bit of a general view of what's happening in the world, and with actually chat AI I go every day. I don't think I go through a day without using AI. It's obviously quickens research, or if you're looking at a certain subject. So definitely reading is 100% a part of my process. And then after I read, those notes of poetry that I write that build towards music, I write from that, whatever inspiration or whatever.
Sure.
And then that's how I did the album. I literally was writing, let's say 4 lines a day, 2 lines, but I didn't want to write like a full length song. I just decided whatever on that day, as long as I'm consistent every day.
Consistency.
Yeah, consistent, yeah. And then, there's working out, I jog. And I've seen, obviously, I couldn't do 1.5K. I literally did 1.5K the first time, and I thought my spirit was going to leave my body. But now I can do...
Where are you now?
I can do 15, 20K.
You cannot.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yeah. So,
all right.
Consistently, that's a transformation. For me, that's a transformation, because I would have never, if somebody asked me 5 years ago if I could do that, impossible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I do want to do is one day come and go through your stack of notebooks, because I think there's a story to be told in there.
Oh, wow.
Keep them somewhere, because they must be locked away.
Will do, yes.
Because it's special.
Thank
you. You have made my day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pompy.
It's been I've enjoyed my conversation. It's been refreshing as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice. Thanks. So thank you all so much for joining me on what has been a really memorable podcast conversation with really one of our own and our very favorite, Pompy. I've enjoyed it, and I really hope you did too.
I loved it.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.